What you see before you is a hose reel that was built in 1894 for Hose Company Number 4. These things were commercially available in this and other configurations that weren't exactly like this, but very similar to this. It all depended on what you wanted as to what you bought. But this hose reel was built in 1894 in Harrisonburg. It was built by a man named John Morrison, who at one time was mayor for the city of Harrisonburg. The hose reel is the first piece of equipment that was owned by Hose Company Number 4. The purpose of the reel is to carry fire hose. Back in those days, fire hose was consisted of leather hose that was riveted together, so you can imagine how inflexible it was. But that leather hose was loaded on this reel, just like you see this hose, and was carried to the scene of the fire with the firefighters pulling this reel. Now, this reel, you think, well, you know, how does a couple of people pull this? Well, it takes more than a couple of people to pull this. You've obviously got the handle right here that can be pulled. There was a rope that snapped in here and went out however far to the end of it. But the idea was it would take about a dozen people to pull this reel up and down the street. The reel is heavy, the hose is super heavy, so it takes a lot of manpower to get it to where you're going. The rope would stream out from here. There would be handholds on the rope, tied into the rope, and there would be anywhere from 10 to 12 people pulling this reel up and down the street. The street right behind us here is named Liberty Street. And just matter of fact, Liberty Street used to be named German Street. It was renamed in World War I. It was renamed from German Street to Liberty Street. Again, just a little fact. But Liberty Street is pretty flat, so pulling this thing up and down Liberty Street, you know, it's a chore, but it can be done with the people that are here. If you're familiar with Harrisonburg, we've got Market Street. East Market Street has a huge hill on it, probably with about a 10% grade. Imagine how much effort it would take to pull this reel up East Market Street. The only thing I don't know about how these reels were handled is, what do you do when you're coming down East Market Street? You know, how do you hold the reel back, or how do you stop the reel? The only thing I can figure is maybe they turned it around and went down backwards. I don't know. Again, that's one thing that I still don't know about as far as these reels are concerned, is how they stopped them. But again, it was the first piece of equipment for Hose Company Number 4. There are additions that were added to it. This started out with a metal rim that you can see right here. Later on, this rubber rim, which would make it easier to pull, was added, and you can see some repairs have been made to that to hold that on there. There were contests that the fire companies had when they had their conventions. There was always a firemen's convention, you know, once a year, Virginia State Firefighters Convention. And they would have contests with these things. And the contest consisted of taking this reel, starting at a designated spot, pulling this reel to a fire hydrant, or hooking the fire hydrant with a hose, pulling a reel on down the street a couple of 100 feet, detach the hose, put a nozzle on it, turn the fire hydrant on, and the time that it took you to do all of that was what determined who the winner was. Hose Company Number 4 had a state-recognized team for a number of years for being one of the fastest teams, or being the fastest team in the state as far as going through that whole process. So not only were they for the business of fighting fires, again, there was also an element here where you know, there was some fun involved as far as being a hose reel team.